Marked a turbulent political year in Nebraska, from state ballot initiatives to a special session.
First Alert 6 is taking a closer look at the most popular political stories among our viewers. At number 6, one of the most contentious issues this year, medical marijuana. Nebraska voters overwhelmingly approved a pair of ballot initiatives to allow it. It faced a legal challenge over signature collections. A judge dismissed that lawsuit, saying there was no evidence of widespread fraud. And Governor Jim Pillen signed the measures about 2 weeks ago. Governor Pillen fulfilling his constitutional duty, issuing proclamations on the measures.
Another contentious issue this year, abortion. Nebraska voters decisive again, choosing to back the state's current 12-week abortion ban in the November election. A second initiative looked to change Nebraska's constitution to allow abortions until fetal viability. Nebraska was one of 10 states to have abortion on the ballot. Also this year, school choice. In April, Governor Jim Pillen signed LB 1402. It eliminated the Opportunity Scholarships Act and instead allowed the state to earmark $10 million of the general fund for private school scholarships. Supporter Schools Nebraska submitted nearly double the amount of required signatures to bring the issue in front of voters, who in the end rejected it.
Legislators also spent more time at the Capitol than expected this year. Governor Pillen called a special session. The goal, passing property tax reform. After 17 days, lawmakers reached an agreement to grant some property tax relief, but it wasn't the 50% reduction Pillen was looking for. The bill also called for a spending cap on cities and counties across the state. The mayors of Omaha and Bellevue did voice concern over that, while others said they could make it work.
The cap can be an okay thing. We're going to have to be very, very efficient. And that's one of the reasons you serve in public office, is to deliver that to the citizens, and that's what they expect.
The other top two stories, Mayor Gene Stothert defending the city's response to this month's ice storm, and Stothert excusing staff from meetings with Councilwoman Juanita Johnson. You can read about all of those and other top 6 stories on our website. That's firstalert6.com.